Today we're going to start off with a couple news items. First, I did two videos over the weekend, the 6th and the 7th. And even though on X and on YouTube I'm getting a lot of discourse, I will say that TikTok has me in jail. I don't know what's going on. The 6th one, after 3 days, has like 400 views. And it seems like they opened up the 7th one a little bit. It's like 1,000 views. But it's on rare earth minerals. I would say, I don't know why. I can't figure it out. It is what it is, okay? Second, some of my videos have been watched by, well, in this case, Stanford Innovation Lab, which is a lab that helps people adjust into how to figure out the new world as a corporation and how do you plan for it and so forth. I think they were attracted by my 5 factors and the rare earth minerals videos. So the interview is on Substack under the woman who interviewed me, Margarita. Margarita is a very accomplished professional. I totally enjoyed, I think it was between 2 and 2.5 hours, but she condensed it down. It's not that long, trust me, to read. But it's very interesting for me to read someone who interprets my conversations with them. So I will post the link below this video. And you can follow Margarita on Substack. And I have joined Substack. And I have one follower on Substack, which is Margarita. So if you want to follow me on Substack, I'm going to start posting into there also. Now, I've been thinking that I'm going to have a new narrative because of the data points that I've been seeing throughout the world. But it's based upon, what we see, what we're talking about every single day, which is about the country's debt, which is one thing, okay? The second thing is de-globalization is causing countries to, need to spend incredible amounts of money. Just look what Europe just did, and they're just doing the basics, okay? They're trying to get the defense industry up. They're trying to do some kind of data center stuff, but they're just starting to talk about rare earth minerals. And we also have energy problems. We have reshoring. All this stuff costs incredible amounts of money, and that is what the new narrative is. So here's one data point. Here are the pension funds and their unfunded liabilities, all right? Now, I understand this is Europe, but this is, let's say, this is across the world. The point being is that we are starting this de-globalization process, which is going to cost trillions and trillions of dollars across many, many expertises that we need to, get our control of. So what is going to happen? How do we do that in today's world? Now, look, I understand this is about how our debt, the yield on our 30-year bonds, which is on the bottom, is going up. This is on all the developed countries, okay? And you can see that the US, Canada, Germany, Japan, and UK, our 30-year yields are going up. And then you can see how our stock markets have been going straight up also. Anybody who follows me knows that I believe that's a liquidity issue. But the point is that this cannot continue long term. So what's the new narrative? First, I want to say, what's a narrative? It's a possibility. That's what it is. It's based on observation. That's all. We look for data points that say, hey, this could happen, all right? And if the data points don't come in, they don't come in, and the narrative is no good. If the data points come in, then we interpret them into the narrative to see if it's a valid narrative. So the narrative is that globally, I believe that the narrative is that we're going to see around the world a lot of tax increases, especially on the wealthy people. And two, the other one that I'm going to be watching, I have no data points on this, is that all these tax havens around the world where the super rich hide all their money, I think they're going to come under attack too. Now, look, I know the people who are rich, they can do what the hell they want and so forth and so on, but this is what I believe is the new narrative, and now we're going to watch it to see if it's actually true. Now, we just did the video on the UK blowing up their budget when they did, and their decision is not to tax the rich, but to cut $5 billion in health benefits to the poorest people. And England fell apart, and now they have a $5 billion hole. And now they're talking about, geez, we're open to higher UK taxes on the wealthy because their debt's out of control. Their rates are their 30-year rates are racing up. So they have to do something. So now you have cuts and then you have new taxes. Who are you going to tax? When like in our country, in the US, that 1% of the people, less than 1% of the people own 50% of the wealth, who are we going to tax? We're going to tax the poor people, but look what we just did. We did tax the poor people and gave the oligarchs of America a tax cut. So how long does this last? We'll see. Again, it's a narrative. It's a possibility. Now here's in Switzerland. They're having an inheritance tax referendum, spooks the Swiss super rich. Now, when you say tax referendum, remember, in Switzerland, the people vote, okay? So just like we just saw UBS, where they increased their capital requirements, that was voted on by the Swiss people, and the Swiss people said, yes, we want them to have more capital in their bank. There's nothing UBS can do about it. And now they're going to vote on the inheritance tax for the super rich. And they're not messing around. They are considering a 50% inheritance tax for the ultra wealthy in the November referendum. All right? It's a lot. Also being proposed out of Brazil, I believe, okay, is a 2%, a minimum 2% tax for the super rich. And you say, what's the super rich? Well, it's literally 3,000 families, 3,000 people. That's what they're looking at. A 2% tax on 3,000 people. And we're not the only ones who have a tax problem. Even in China, they need to raise revenues. It's hard to discern China's debt levels because remember, they push it down. They have their, whatever they call their regions or their states. They borrow the money, not the nationals. But for the first time in China's history, they're looking to put a tax on property, and they're going to do it several ways. Either 1.2% on the original value or 12% on the rental income. And then they have deed taxes. They're going to put in land depreciation tax also exists. So in other words, China is going to start taxing who are their rich people in China, which are the property owners. But it's actually across the world, from Brazil, Spain, Norway, Switzerland, France. Notice all these Western countries, they need the money. But we're not the only ones, right? I mean, what are they going to do in Japan, where they have literally, they do have a 270% GDP debt level, okay? So what are we going to be watching this new narrative? Is taxes on the wealthy, and which is the one that really interests me, is what are we going to do with these tax havens, all right? The Isle of Man, Cyprus, Luxembourg. These guys are not going to be able to, I think, withstand the demands of the country's needs for revenue because they won't be able to issue more bonds. The reason you're not going to be able to issue more bonds is every time you try to issue more, people are going to sell down your existing bonds, and so that means you have to refinance at a higher rate. I know here in America, we're facing Trump wants 1% and so forth. We'll see how that works out. But the truth of the matter is our long bonds are going up in yield, they're not going down in yield. And with the dollar diving as fast as it is, we have to come up with a new way to raise revenues. What do you think? Tell me in the comments and like and follow.